this series is to try to help you, our audience, be aware, be exposed to people around you that are doing a lot of the things you think you might want to do. There are so many people out there that are business owners, business leaders, people that run businesses, people that have really great ideas that might want to start a business that just aren't sure about the next step. A lot of us get in business and things happen and maybe we're afraid to take the next step, or God knows, we're all navigating through some waters right now that we never thought we would be. And so my goal is to bring to you people that I know or that I've met through my business career that are doing just that. And today I'm so excited. I think I've known this guy, I don't even know how long, but since he was a young guy, and to watch him grow and now to turn into a business leader himself, I'm just thrilled to be able to bring you guys his story. So everybody, I want you to meet Eddie Stone. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think I believe, 12 years old.
I was going to say probably around 10. So
Yeah,
yeah, we were close. We were close for sure.
yeah.
Well, it is my goal to share your age, but I really just wanted everybody to know. I mean, I've seen this young man grow from, being a really smart guy and doing really well in school and the activities he was involved in, to transitioning himself into what he thought was a great opportunity for himself to be able to grow and build a business. And so, Ed, can you just tell us first tell us your business, what your business is, and then tell us who you are, how you got to where you are, what made you make this choice, and what's going on right now.
So my name is Ed Stone. I'm the owner of Southern Maryland Pool Management. We've been in business officially for 4 years. I worked under my mentor for 10 years before that, which was pool management specialists. We at Southern Maryland Pool Management specialize in running community pools. So HOAs and private club pools will hire us to run their pool, to open it, to close it, to hire the lifeguards, hire the managers, run the swim programs, water aerobics, and then day-to-day operations. We manage pools in the Southern Maryland area and actually starting to expand into Northern Maryland, and then hopefully soon into DC as well. We Last year we had about 120 seasonal employees, lifeguards, managers. We hire local. That's one of our selling points, is we employ the local community. Most of my pool managers are local teachers in the community. And then the lifeguards that we hire are students and kids that live in the neighborhood and whatnot, or college students home for the summer, looking to earn extra cash and whatnot. So it's definitely more of a mom and pop type situation, but on a larger scale, because we are expanding and growing, and whatnot. But we like to keep it in the community.
That's awesome. So I want to ask you a couple questions about that, and then we're going to sort of go back a little bit. So I had no idea. I mean, I understood that you manage neighborhood community pools, but it never occurred to me that you would run the aerobics class and all of those kinds of things. So that's really interesting. Is that unique to your company, or is that kind of that's part of the pool management kind of system? If we was to look at other pool management companies, is that something specific you guys do?
Um, Other pool management companies do it, but at a smaller scale.
Okay.
They're not as involved.
Okay.
Where
Interesting.
I really, because that's where I started, was teaching swim lessons. I
Nice.
was a competitive swimmer my entire life. Um, uh, was top 10 in the state in Maryland when I was in high school, and then in college was on the club team. But my favorite part of my job in the summer was teaching kids how to swim. And so that's what I've really focused, or one of the aspects that I've really focused on, is having good teachers, good instructors, mentoring those instructors, so then they can give the kids the best experience that they can have. Because I don't think of it just as learning how to swim, but it's a life skill that you really need to know, especially in Maryland. We're surrounded by water. And so teaching kids not to be afraid, and also to have the water safety skills, and different if they get pushed in the water, or their friend is in trouble, knowing what to do in those types of situations.
Gosh, that's fantastic. I mean, what I understood that you guys did, I guess I just assumed really because I hadn't had the opportunity to talk to you about this, but I thought it was more of the maintenance and the bookkeeping and making sure all the memberships were up and those kinds of things. This is just fascinating though, how, okay. So this makes me want to go back to where I was going to revert back to a few minutes ago and really talk about how did you get from, the college to here. And obviously some of that revolves around this being involved in swimming, which I love that connection. That's really cool. So give us a little bit more about that, like where you came from college wise and how you got to now running a company that manages pools and takes care of these things.
Yeah, well, I got a business degree with small business entrepreneurship concentration from East Carolina University.
Nice.
When I was there, I had a friend that owned a bar in the downtown area, and I helped him run his books for him, and the just day to day operations and whatnot, taxes, and helping with all that. And I continued to do the summer gig for my mentor Russ, who every summer I'd come back and work for him as a lifeguard, and then, lifeguard when I was in high school, and then into management roles. And then it just evolved from there, actually. And I became the regional manager of his company, overseeing all the pools where I still did manage and teach lessons, until he decided that he wanted to shut down his company and finally retire, much deserved. And then that's when I started my company, opened it up, and with some of his help and guidance, I jumped in head first, and um, went after and got all his contracts, and also all his old employees and whatnot. I actually just saw him the other day, and he still continues to guide me and to help me out from time to time. I'll give him a call and say, hey Russ, I'm having this issue or that issue, and what are your thoughts and whatnot. So it's always good to have mentors, different mentors on your side and whatnot.
So I love two things that you're talking about here. You have continually used the word mentor, and I love this because several of the entrepreneurs we've talked to have talked about this concept of having mentors, and I truly believe in this. I've had several myself, and I think people have this preconceived notion about a mentor being, oh, I own a business and I don't know enough, so I go ask someone else for help. And so some people feel like that may be, oh, you don't know, or maybe it's a weakness or something as such as that. But I want you to speak a little bit more about that. I mean, obviously in your case, this is a gentleman that you worked for, so he's always going to be that person that you're going to go to and hopefully be able to ask questions and learn from those experiences. And certainly, all of us had one. When I owned my title company, I took it over from my mom after several years. And so I would go back to her and ask questions business, but I had several others too. But I want you to speak a little bit more about the importance of having a mentor and what that means, especially to a younger person in business that maybe is afraid to ask for help. I think that's where what I think would be best.
Yeah, I think it's great to go and get advice from people that have been there before, having and multiple mentors. My father My fiance's father and mother are, and my mother are all, parts of my life that they mentor me and I can bounce ideas off of. And a mentor doesn't even have to be someone that is older than you. It can be someone that is your age, or it also, bouncing ideas off of them. So
I love that. That's really good because, that's exactly what, a mentor, it serves several different purposes. One, maybe being somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, but two, also, there's an adage that if you see somebody else who has what you want, that's the person you should talk to. That's the people you should connect with, because that's how you're going to get if you want what they have, then you have to talk to them about finding out how they did it. And so I think that's really important. The other piece that I really wanted to hit on again with you was, I just love to hear your progression about your life, because I think it really speaks to young people saying, look at taking a passion and spinning it into a business. Like, you took swimming from your whole life, and then on the summers, you're working as a lifeguard at a pool company, including those things that you really loved, being in the pool, being in Southern Maryland area, being in the water all of the time. That really was, you took your passion and made it into a job, which everybody, a lot of kids are lifeguards. But what I think you're really doing too is you're talking to those lifeguards and those kids that work for you and saying, look what I did, you can do it too. And I love hearing this. So talk to us a little bit more about that. Like, that is just, showing others how to do what you've done. It's just really neat to see you've changed that passion or pulled that passion through to your career.
yeah, yeah, I just really enjoy, and I think it's a great responsibility that I don't take lightly, is working with these young adults. My average employee is between ages of 15 and a half to 21.
Mhm.
And so most of the time it's their first job or one of their first jobs. So a lot of the time they're truly green. They literally, don't know, good business practices or what they should do and how to work with coworkers. And they've been in school situations, but they haven't actually, this is their first taste of the real world. And so that's what I really try to focus on is um, the whole teaching aspect, and to teach and instill just working with others, and making it an enjoyable environment. Most all my employees, they come back year after year because of the great work environment that I try to put on to my managers for them to put on to their lifeguards, to just teach and to enjoy the summer. Yes, it's a job. Yes, we have to take it seriously. Keeping all the patrons safe, making sure they're, in a safe environment and not, getting jumped on or anything like that. And, having a safe environment. And that's number one priority. But also, it can be an enjoyable job. And so that's kind of what I try to just cultivate company culture wise.
That is fantastic. And I just love that you're showing these people, like, here's my story. You can do this too. And this goes to the whole level of what we're trying to talk about here is this whole entrepreneurial spirit about, taking something that you feel really strongly about. Like, I was talking to somebody earlier today and we were talking exactly about that. When something hits you and says, hey, here I am. And you say, oh, this is something I really love, but I'm kind of scared. I'm not sure. Saying yes to that opportunity, which is what exactly happened to you as well. You were working, what I understand you saying, in an area that you loved, and then you were faced with an opportunity to take it to the next level. And so you're saying the exact same thing. Yes, go after it. Do it. Do exactly what you love to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really
And
exciting.
it is scary, but it's been the most rewarding thing, um, to overall in general, and seeing the kids grow up and evolve, and seeing them progress and move on into the what some call the adult world and
Mhm.
year-round full-time jobs and whatnot, and just see the what they really truly grow into and whatnot.
That's really
So
cool.
it's nice to see what I've kind of helped nurture.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How cool is that? Well, that brings me into a question that I really like to ask everybody. And it's sort of twofold. And it's, talks about your superpower, but your superpower can be two things. Like, what are you really great at? What do you feel like your company or you are really great at and your really strong suit that you bring to the community, your business? And then the other side of it is, what is that thing about your job that just gets, like, I like to say, all the hair on your arm standing up. Like, when this happens, I'm so excited. It makes you go, I love what I do, and this is exactly why. So give us those two pieces if you wouldn't mind.
Um, those pieces would probably be my connection that I do have with my employees, and the network that it creates, the company culture that it creates, um, because they know that they're gonna enjoy the day. That's one thing that I really instill across the board is interacting with people. I don't yell or really harp down on my employees. I explain to them on their level, saying, "Hey, this can't be done, and this is why. This is why I'm asking you to do this. This is why I'm asking, this to get done this way."
Mm-hmm.
And explaining, my thought process behind it. Um, because I feel that's the best way to learn. And so instead of, you're doing it wrong and punishing, or, hey, you're off the schedule, say, hey, this is why. What are your thoughts? Why do you think that, this and that, and making it more of a conversation. And so I think that is that, and also my mechanical skills of fixing things and whatnot, because a lot of the pool facilities that I do manage are on the older side, 30, 40, 50 years old. And so having to think outside of the box to make some of the fixes to the pump rooms and stuff like that. That's where I kind of really light up and really enjoy.
I just saw that when you were talking about it. Like, and honestly, I think from the connections that you and I've had over the, maybe past year or two, and I'm watching you progress, that's really what I thought more of you doing. So when you were talking about the classes, I knew the lifeguards, but when you were talking about some of the other activities at the pool, that's when I was a little bit surprised about that, because I thought it was more the management of the maintenance of the pool and the mechanics. So that's really funny because, I'm learning a whole lot about your business here as well, which is fun. But so I could see that just as you were talking about it, that mechanical side of it was pretty interesting too. But I do want to go back to, I like this conversation about the employees, because one of the things that I do a lot with businesses is work on that is trying to give them some direction on how to work with the team that they have, and building it successfully so everybody functions really well together and is a pretty smooth working team. Not every single person can work with every person, and so it's understanding the people that work for you and how they think about things and the directions that they need in order to be successful. But also, when you're a business owner like you, not only working with them and working through potential things that come up, but also understanding what your passion is about your business, and them exuding that passion and carrying it through. Like, your managers carrying through the reason that you do what you do, because that's what makes that business unique and function the way it does, if I understand correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic stuff. So you said you've been doing this for 4 years, but you had actually worked for Russ for several years before that. So you have a whole lot of experience. You just transitioned from being the person that was helping manage things to now you're in charge of all the other stuff that's behind the scenes. And how did you
Correct.
find that transition for you? Because one thing I do know is going from being the worker to the owner adds a lot more hats to your plate.
Yeah, definitely a lot more hats. And yeah, the amount of work that people don't see, and coordination and things where they think, oh, it just happens,
Mm.
is definitely probably one of the biggest things for me. Is because one of the questions I get is, what do you do all winter long? And I'm like,
Oh,
that
nothing.
that's my busiest time, because that's when I'm uh, winterizing everything, finding things that are broken, and writing the reports to send to the different facilities to get approval for the work to be done, and then recruiting. That's the biggest thing that I do, is recruiting in the off season, because that is a lot of just hands-on, uh, you know, getting it done, and talking to different people and making the calls and things like that. So
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's funny that you say that, because it's just like teachers. People are like, "Oh, what do you do in the summer?" And it's not like, you don't have any function. It's just some downtime to be able to do all the things that you don't have time to do when things are actively moving, I think, in your particular case.
yeah.
And the other thing is, speak to this for a second, because I think a lot of people don't understand, in the world outside of the entrepreneurial world, they don't understand that there are a lot of pieces that are added to your plate when you go from being a manager to an owner, and trying to navigate through some of that, like how to know what you can do, what you need to find help with doing, and those kinds of things. So give us a little background on that kind of thing, and how that transition worked for you, and what you found worked best.
The I would say the key is to get the right people around you, the right support team, the people that are there for the right reasons, that can help you with their skill sets, and then also figuring out what things that you are good at and what things you're not good at. And if you're not good at something, letting someone else take care of it for you that is good at it. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen that's really helped me really start to grow and expand, and really start to thrive, is getting the right people around me, having the right bookkeeper, the right accountant, the right lawyer, and to get all the stuff done on the backside, the way it needs to be done.
That's another interesting common theme in the entrepreneurial series, guys, is this whole concept of delegating. When you first start in a new business, and in your case, Ed, you were able to capture a lot of business kind of quickly, so it probably wasn't starting immediately. Well, I mean, definitely at the beginning, but with just pennies and not having, and a concern of going out and trying to gather customers, you were able to capture some customers when your mentor Russ shut down. So, but a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to have to do the bookkeeping, and I'm going to have to do this piece and that piece, and I'm not good at it, and I can't stand it. And what you are saying, and what I know a lot of other people have said, is when you know what those things are that you're not very good at, you have to invest in hiring the people around you to take care of those things, so you can do what you're really good at, and you can do what you're passionate about. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed.
That's 100% spot on, because when you get those people and they do it, it actually will save you money in the long run, because they catch things that you forget, or that aren't sure about. They know all the ins and outs, and how to make sure that everything's getting accounted for, and things don't just kind of slide by and are forgotten.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so something else I wanted to ask you is, what's the number one thing? Well, obviously, you told us what happens in the wintertime. People ask you that, but when people find out like what your business is, what is the number one thing that people ask you most about that business? And the reason I ask this is because one of the things I try to do is to help entrepreneurs understand their value and what they should share with other people. So I like to ask this question, because what I think that we all try to share about our business sometimes on social media is a bunch of information about our business, and not necessarily some of the nuances. And I think you're a little bit of the exception, because a lot of the things I see are things I didn't know that you guys did, or I find very interesting, some of the mechanical sides and things like that I wouldn't understand. But what's the number one thing that people ask you questions about? Because I always want people to hone in on what somebody asks you about. That's what you should talk about. So that's why I ask.
I really don't get that many questions. The biggest question I get is, "What do you do in the off season?" And but for the most part, because most people, when they, I start, I say I hire the lifeguards and the managers, they're like, "Oh, I've been to a neighborhood pool. I know that they do their thing." So actually, you know what? Probably the biggest question would be, how do I get certified, or
Mhm.
how do I get? Actually, you know what? The biggest question I do get is, how does my son or daughter get certified? How do I get certified? How does my granddaughter get certified? And
Certified
so
to be a
I,
lifeguard?
yeah, certified to be
Okay.
a lifeguard. And so what I do is I actually direct them to my website, www.somdpoolmgmt.com.
Okay.
And on the website, they just apply, and once they apply through our online website, it's asked, are you certified or not? And if you're not, we actually reach out to you directly, and send you classes that are offered in the area, and then also the classes that we offer,
Mhm.
because
Okay.
we also do certify our employees as well, and we use our own employees to certify those employees. So that's another way that I can give back, and have my employees, making extra money because they are certifying,
That's
the
really interesting.
employees.
So you have so many things that you do through your business that I would have not ever thought of. So obviously, certifying people to become lifeguards, and teaching or setting up and coordinating and teaching all the classes, hiring the lifeguards and managing them, making sure the maintenance of the pool facility itself is functioning. It's a pretty involved business, and as you're adding locations, you're adding, that whole, all of those nuances to a whole new place. So pretty involved. You got to be a pretty busy guy all season long.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess right now, none of this activity that's going on that's bothering everybody else's business is probably affecting yours, because these are things you'll be doing in the off season anyway, and starting to gather and getting. It's just you probably have a lot more activity right now because people are out of work too.
Yeah, it's just basically changing, because I've before all this started happening, I was already doing the opening processes for my clients,
Mm-hmm.
um, because with these facilities, we do, we're dewinterizing the bathrooms, we're getting the
Mm-hmm.
pools up and running, and chairs out and everything accounted for, and then making all the fixes, doing repair work, tile repairs and pump repairs. So we've
Right.
already been working for the last month, over a month, and so we've just had to change our business practices. Normally, we always have groups of guys going out, and we stay together and work together, where now it's, all right, guys, you all have to work separately, by yourselves, making sure the gates are locked
Mm-hmm.
behind you, so no one can wander in and whatnot, so you don't have that any contact, um, you
Right.
know
Okay.
but the PPE stuff, that's already implemented for us, because we handle chemicals and deal with chemicals. So I when they're doing such things, we already had them wearing gloves. We already had them wearing masks.
Okay.
So in that aspect, it hasn't really changed much. So now it's just changing. Hey guys, instead of us all working together, we have to work by ourselves, and check in and whatnot. So it's just kind of changed the process, and the the common work practices that we have. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Very interesting. I mean, all very interesting. Like when you said de-winterizing the bathrooms, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought about that, but that's really interesting. You guys just have your hands on so many different pieces of the management of the pool, literally managing all aspects from the beginning to the end on both the winter and the summer side. So very interesting to learn all about that. I've never talked to anyone that did that for a living. So it's very interesting. But what's even more interesting is to understand your progression from where you were as a child into something you really liked, into going into the business side of management at college, and then on the summers working at the pool, and then go moving up in the ranks, and then taking over that business, or starting your own business and taking over the business that was expired there. So it's really been an interesting conversation. What I would like you to share with us, just one little last piece that I like to do with everybody, because I think it's important for people to understand how you share some information about your business. But tell us, if you were stuck in, let's say, the pool bathroom and there was only 4 people. I always say elevator, but in your case, we'll just say the pool clubhouse. And there was only 4 people in there, but you guys couldn't get out. So you had to find something to do, and you're talking to each other, and you're trying to find out what each other does for a living. What would you say you did for a living in 10 words or less?
I teach young adults to become productive workers, and to teach them good business practices via the water.
That's really interesting. I knew you were going to spin that around when you came back and you said young adults. I was thinking through pool management, through the pool. So that is really cool. I like it a lot. That's really neat. And it's really been my pleasure to hear your story, to connect with you again, to be able to share your story, because like I said at the beginning, there's just so many people that either are in their business and run down the road and hit a roadblock and then just don't know what to do. Or people that, get shown an opportunity, it drops in their lap, and they don't know how to take the next step, or they're afraid to. Or young people who see opportunities, maybe they found the exact thing that it would be so cool that would change our life, and they're just afraid to act on it. So give us just one little last piece of advice that you have, and let us close up with that, to share with a young person that might be thinking, wow, there's something I'd really like to do, but I'm kind of afraid.
Just I would say to take advantage when you see a window of opportunity, like I did, to make sure that you're not afraid to just step in and pick up the shovel and start working. Because I saw the opportunity, and so I was like, there's gonna be a gap in this industry in the area, and I didn't want that to be taken by the large pool companies that are nationwide, that hire the lifeguards from different countries, and have
Mm-hmm.
visas and whatnot. I wanted to pick up that shovel and take that market share and keep it with the local community. So just don't be afraid just to be the person that steps up and picks up the shovel and gets the job done, because it's definitely worth it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it to take on that responsibility and that job. So.
This is fantastic stuff. Pick up that shovel and get to work. I love it. So, Ed, thank you so much for letting me catch up with you. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with everybody. Guys, as we've been talking about with every interview, tomorrow I will share a link to the replay so anybody can see it. Ed can post it on his page, any of his channels. It'll be on my YouTube and my LinkedIn, and also back here on our Facebook. We have many more interviews scheduled this week. This was a phenomenal interview. Ed, if somebody wants to find you after today because they have questions about your story, or they want to hire you or understand a little bit more, or maybe they want to talk to you about being a mentor, how do they go? How do they reach you?
Probably the best way would be my Facebook or Instagram. My Facebook page is Southern Maryland Pool Management, and or my website as well. You can go to my website, somdpoolmgmt.com. That's probably the best way to contact me. And And yeah, thanks so much, Connie, for having me on.
Yeah, I truly appreciate having you too. And Ed, do me a favor and put your link to your website in our comments once we get finished up. That way, the link is right there for them too,
Yeah,
just to make sure we
I'll
don't
put the
miss
link on of my webpage, Facebook, and Instagram all down
that.
there. So.
Excellent. Excellent. Ed, thanks so much for your time. Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you want to talk to me a little bit more, either about being on our interview series, which I'd love to have you, or if you want to talk about some other things that we can help with, reach out to me. You can message me here, or you can go to my website, conniefuksa.com, and we can talk a little bit more about what that looks like. Ed, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Connie. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
All right. I hope you do too.